Hey, Nikki, how are you?
I'm good, Graham. How are you today?
Doing excellent, doing excellent. Congrats on your win over Charlotte on Monday night.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And going into SummerSlam in just a couple of weeks now, I mean, it's crazy because you were on the SummerSlam pre-show just 2 years ago, right? And this is going to be your first match on the main card?
Yes, yes. So 2 years ago, it was myself and Alexa Bliss versus the Iconics for the Women's Tag Team Championships.
Mm-hmm.
And yes. So this is my first year on the main, on the card. So I'm so excited. I'm excited to go to Las Vegas, and we're SummerSlam Saturday, August 21st, and I think it's just going to be absolutely amazing. I'm so excited.
No, I'm sure, especially in front of what's it going to be, 60,000 people, something along those lines. So it's going to be an amazing experience, I'm
Oh,
sure. But especially against two, superstars the caliber of Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley as well. So how do you prepare for a match like this? It's two different opponents. It's a different type of situation. What are your thoughts going in this match at SummerSlam?
going into this match at SummerSlam, you've just said, Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley, they are two very powerful women, and I know I'm going in as the kind of underdog and the smaller, the smaller competitor. So I think when you're smaller, you have to kind of rely on more like speed and techniques and certain technical moves. And, for me, like I've been working a lot on like quick pinning combinations, because, when you are a smaller competitor, you do have to think about these things. I'm not quite a superhero yet. I'm almost a superhero, so I don't actually have super strength yet, So for me going into this match, it's making sure my different quick pinning combinations are, as tight as they can be, and just working a lot on like speed and agility. Basically, like the way Black Widow prepares for the kind of, because I was really inspired by a lot of the things she does, because she does a lot of hurricane ranas and head scissors into different things. So kind of been inspired by that and just trying different things with that.
Actually, going right off of that, I was going to ask you a little bit later, but I might as well ask you now. You saw Black Widow, you said, and you were inspired by a lot of what she did in the movie. Give me your thoughts in the movie, and I think the timing of it was just perfect with kind of like the debut of the Nikki A.S.H character and the movie coming out. So talk a little bit about you seeing the movie and what your thoughts on it were.
Oh, I thought the movie was incredible. I've always loved Black Widow ever since the I'm a massive fan of Marvel and the
Mm-hmm.
MCU movies. So Black Widow was always one of my favorites. From the first Avengers movie, and then the Age of Ultron, and then you had Endgame, and then Infinity War, Endgame, and then the Black Widow movie, and then she was also in the Iron Man movies as well. So I loved it. I thought the movie was great. I really enjoyed it, and pretty much, I was kind of saying this earlier, like anything Marvel and DC related and superhero related, like I'm obviously a big fan of, and I really love it, because I would always Buffy the Vampire Slayer too. Actually, she would always you always saw wrestling moves and that she would do like the kip up and the Hurricane Rana. So I guess Buffy the Vampire Slayer is another favorite superhero of mine.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's always important to just be just inspirations from all different sources.
Yeah, and you mentioned too how you were a fan of both Marvel and DC and inspired by a lot of the characters in both universes. So does that mean you're going to be seeing Suicide Squad when it comes out this coming weekend at some point?
Oh, 100%, definitely. I've already bought my tickets.
Oh man, it's going to be a great movie too, and you got to go support Big Match John because obviously he's playing Peacemaker in the movie, so it's going to be great. But
Oh, of course.
yeah, it's going to
We
be
actually
fantastic.
rewatched the first one. We watched the first one. We rewatched the first one last week,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think we're going to try and watch Birds of Prey tonight or tomorrow. Like we watched that as well, so that we're all ready. But yeah, we already bought our tickets, so we're excited.
That's perfect. Yeah, you got to catch up. That's actually a great idea to watch the first one back before this one comes out. But actually, kind of going off of that, are you able to get any superhero advice from people that play superheroes like a John Cena or a Dave Batista, or I know The Rock's going to be playing, Black Adam in a couple of years. Can you get any advice, or have you gotten any advice from those guys as far as how to portray a superhero or almost be a superhero rather?
So, I've actually been lucky enough to be able to pick the brain of the Hurricane. Shane Helms has been absolutely amazing. He's been so supportive and
Mm-hmm.
so helpful, and just really like giving me like some great advice. And you know, when I first debuted the character and when I won the Raw Women's Championship, you know, I came through Gorilla, and one of the first people I seen was the Hurricane. So I've been lucky enough to get some great advice off him, and you know, I just feel very just grateful to be able to pick his brain.
Yeah, and he's obviously a great influence as well. Might and Molly being another one, and everyone else that's come before you in WWE as far as the superheroes are concerned. And you mentioned earlier, obviously, you're Nikki A.S.H, almost a superhero. You don't have quite that, you know, that strength, that super strength that you mentioned earlier. What is that next step in making you a superhero? What will it take to get you to Nikki A.S.H, superhero, so to speak?
So the almost superhero, that kind of more comes from. So for me, Nikki A.S.H has the same moral compass as a superhero. But when you think of Captain America, when you think of Steve Rogers, you know, he was already standing up to bullies before he got the super serum. You know, Iron Man, when you take away his suit, is still this, you know, absolute genius. So, but Black Widow doesn't have any, you know, she doesn't have any powers, but she's one of the best trained fighters on the planet, you know. So for me, like the Nikki A.S.H, it's more the way I view it is I have the same moral compass and the same drive, the same hope, the same persistence as a superhero. But obviously, you know, I don't have super serum or a magical ring or, you know, like something like the Iron Man suit, you know. But the idea that you put on the cape and the mask and you feel like you can try anything, and if you fall down, that's okay, because you're going to pick yourself up, because that's life. So for me, like, that's what almost a superhero means. It means I don't have the super serum or super strength, or I can't fly, I don't have super speed, you know, not without coffee anyway. You know, I don't have any of those things, but I've got the same heart and desire and, you know, the belief in people being good that all the other superheroes have, you know. Like I said, Steve Rogers was he had so much heart and compassion before he took the super serum.
Yeah, Steve Rogers. No, that's a great comparison. I think that's a great way to kind of a great example to use. And with that being said, too, is it watching movies like the first Captain America and stuff like that that allows you to help you practice being a superhero? Like, how do you kind of go about practicing being a superhero?
So, you know, the first things first, you know, you want to try and fly, you know, and you start jumping off a small boat, like a tiny little, you know, the bottom stair. No, for me, I get really, really inspired by superhero movies. You know, Spider-Man was another big influence for me. Supergirl on CW, as you know, I absolutely love and adore that show, and there's actually so much of that represents what Nikki A.S.H believes in. So I'm super, super inspired by a lot of these movies and TV shows. And for me, that just, I think, you know, the way, I think we can just draw inspiration from so many different things. And for me, it just happened, you know, it's these movies and TV shows.
Yeah, no, most definitely. There's so much of it nowadays too, between the movies and the shows. I mean, they're everywhere. Netflix, you know, everything on networks and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah. And I think what's great, you know, WWE, we're about, you know, we're about connecting people. You know, families come to our shows. Like you know, there's so many ways WWE connects people, and superheroes do the same. So for me, combining WWE and combining that with superhero and putting them together is just it's a huge honor, you know, and being able to connect with our audience, in particular, you know, hopefully the younger audience as well. Like it's a big responsibility, and like I'm honored to be able to play this.
Yeah, I mean, and kind of going off that too, the timing was interesting because around the time that you started doing Nikki A.S.H and you kind of debuted or re-debuted, what have you, it was right before fans returned. So it was still during the Thunderdome era, a couple weeks before Money in the Bank. When you pitch an idea like this, because I know you've talked about how this was your idea and you kind of came up with it and whatever, with a process like this going into it, do you have this idea that, okay, there might be a segment of the audience that doesn't like it, like an older male demographic, or it might be tailored towards kids? Are you kind of ready for the potential backlash going into like fans returning and stuff like that? Or you're not really worrying about that too much?
me, the connection with the fans, one of the most important things is our connection with the fans.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely love exploring that connection, and I'm excited to be in front of live fans again. And I can't, being at our live events again, leading up to SummerSlam. We've got that, SummerSlam Las Vegas on Saturday, August 21st, and the Allegiant Stadium. There's live events every weekend, and it's just, for me, it's like, I'm so excited by that connection. And for me, like, I've seen so much positivity and joy. Like, I've
mm-hmm.
seen, the fan art I pretty much share on a daily basis on my Twitter
mm-hmm.
and on my Instagram, an outpouring of love and, messages from everyone. So for me, like, that's what I'm inspired by that. I feel empowered by that. And for me, like, I'm just so excited. And for us, the connection is the most important thing. And I'm looking forward to exploring that and for people to see this character and become invested in it. And for me, that's what I'm focusing on and thinking about.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, it makes sense too, especially coming off the last couple of appearances. I mean, in the first show with fans, you win the Money in the Bank briefcase. The very next night, you become Raw Women's Champion. This past week, you beat Charlotte Flair in the main event of Raw. Very receptive. The Chicago crowd went wild for it. When you get a reaction like that, that's mostly positive. Are you like surprised by it? Are you expecting it? How long does that kind of take for you to kind of sink in, type of thing?
So for me, I mean, that the whole thing you just said, the whole thing you just described, like Money in the Bank, winning that in Texas, the ladder match, and then cashing in the next night, it's been a whirlwind, and it's been an amazing whirlwind, and it almost feels like a dream that I don't want someone to wake me up from. And it's so, it's funny because we did the ladder match, and I run up the ramp and I climb up the ladder, and I'm celebrating, and I've just got all these like memories and just all the everything over the last 13 years, and I look at the briefcase with the contract, and I start crying, just happy tears. And then the next night when I cash in and win the Raw Women's Championship, it was just utter like jubilation and triumph. Like there was no tears at that point, and I ran out, celebrating with the fans. I was so excited to be in front of. And it's just been a whirlwind, and I like that. That's the best way I can describe it. And for me, I'm enjoying this wave of momentum, and this wave of momentum, and it's taken me to SummerSlam in a triple threat match for the Raw Women's Championship, where I will be defending my Raw Women's Championship. So I'm on cloud nine.
No, I'm sure, especially going to a match like that too. Again, like we said earlier, Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley, two of the top of their game right now, also on the Raw roster. So it's going to be a really good triple threat match. But kind of go back to the ladder match for a quick second. Talk about that and how crazy. I mean, you haven't been in many ladder matches, if any at all, prior to that one. So what was your experience going into Money in the Bank? I mean, obviously you're almost a superhero now, so jumping off a ladder wouldn't be that big of a deal for you specifically. But talk to me a little bit about that and how crazy it was to be at the top of the ladder, holding the briefcase, and as you just mentioned, kind of the emotions you were feeling and stuff like that.
But this was my second Money in the Bank match, and it was probably my third ladder match, because actually I did a ladder match back in Scotland about eight or 9 years ago. So this was my third ladder match, second Money in the Bank match. So, I kind of had a little idea what to expect from being in the Money in the Bank match 2 years ago, 2019. So for me, like, you never, like, ladder matches, like, you want it to be, you want to be innovative, you want it to be, creative, you want to be the one to climb that ladder and grab the contract, you want it to be exciting, you want to steal the show, like, you have all these emotions going through you as a performer. And but you also know that, it's a high risk match, so it does seem perfect for almost a superhero. And the beauty about being almost a superhero is I can't quite fly yet. There was a moment in a match where I was flying for a few seconds, and then you're back to the ground again, So with these ladder matches, it is a high risk environment, and I think that just shows you the stakes are high and what people are, it speaks a lot to the competitors in the match, how much they want to steal the show and how much they want to be the ones to grab the contract. It shows the level of competition in our women's division. And, I think we created something every year. We create something special and do things that haven't been done before in the previous Money in the Bank ladder matches. So I'm proud of myself, and I'm proud of the women's division, and I'm proud of every single competitor in that match. And afterwards, I did a promo for WWE Digital, and I kind of said, I was like, this Money in the Bank contract represents the women who have fought for this contract, the women who, from the generation before me didn't have this opportunity to compete for this contract. So, and it represents like my own journey. So it meant a lot. It being, winning the Money in the Bank contract really meant a lot to me, and it led me to become the Raw Women's Champion.
Yeah, just the very next night, too. It didn't take too long for you to cash that in. So you mentioned earlier that it was a whirlwind, cashing in the contract or winning Money in the Bank, becoming Raw Women's Champion the next night. And kind of on a broader scale, too, your overall WWE career. You've been here for 5-6 years now, including your time in NXT. Is it wild to think about being the Raw Women's Champion now, going into SummerSlam, walking in as Raw Women's Champion? When you were in NXT, you went for the NXT Women's title a couple of times. You were never able to hold it, being a former Women's Tag Team Champion as well. So you've had success on the main roster. But is it crazy to think about you and Bianca both? Bianca was never NXT Women's Champion. So is it crazy to think about how you're now the Raw Women's Champion, despite never holding that NXT Women's title just a few years ago, and how much has changed since then with you?
I love looking back on the last 5 years, and I was incredibly fortunate to be involved in these awesome stories in NXT. And the last woman standing match with Asuka, that's still the match that I'm most proud of in my career. So for me, it's like I was so fortunate to be a part of what I was a part of in NXT, and it was funny because I thought Bianca's SmackDown Women's Champion, and someone on Instagram had shared a photo of me and Bianca in our matches from NXT, and it is really cool to think about. And you are like, it's been such an incredible journey for both of us, and I'm over the moon for Bianca, SmackDown Women's Champion. So for me, I think everything just happens for a reason. So when I look back on the last 5.5 years, everything has prepared me for this moment. I'm ready to represent the company in this way, and I feel honoured and privileged to hold this Raw Women's Championship. I'm ready for it, and I think that everything over the last 5-6 years has prepared me for it in some way, in some small way, in every single way. So NXT, I look back on that, and I'm so grateful for my time there.
For sure, and it was a great run. And like you said, that last woman's standing match was just fantastic. Last question for you, Nikki. Going forward, and already you've kind of mixed it up with, Rhea Ripley and Charlotte. We got the triple threat match at SummerSlam, Allegiant Stadium in a couple of weeks. Beyond them, and obviously the match with Alexa Bliss, which is inevitable. I mean, superhero, supervillain, it just makes a lot of sense to do, and that's got to be inevitable. Beyond them, are there any women from Raw, SmackDown, NXT, even NXT UK, that stand out to you as being a big match that you want to have at some point over that Raw Women's Championship that you really want to make happen?
For me, we have NXT UK, Raw, SmackDown. We have so many female superstars that I, as a almost superhero, as a Raw Women's Championship champion, I'll be a fighting champion. I will defend my championship against, anyone and everyone. Personally, I'd love to mix it up with Mia Yim. I would love to mix it up with Tamina. One of my favorite matches of my career was a live event that me and Tamina had in San Diego a couple of years ago. So I would love to mix it up with Tamina. I'd love to mix it up with Naomi, Liv Morgan. There's so many women that I would just love to do something with. And also on Raw, we have Eva Marie and Doudrop, and it's like, I know Doudrop from in Scotland, and that would be an amazing moment getting to fight against her. We both went to the same wrestling school in Scotland. We've had this same, this 13-year journey, but they've both been very, very different journeys. And it's just, I would love, me and Doudrop, I would love to do that match. And, then you add in the X Factor, the Eva Marie and their partnership, and it's like, I would love that. You know, so that's, and then you've got, you know, Nia and Shayna, you know, and Shayna, you know, with the you know, we had the story in NXT, and I think that the Shayna Baszler would be another perfect opponent for the Nikki A.S.H character, you know, the superhero character. You know, there's super villains. Every hero needs a villain, you know.
Absolutely. And hopefully at some point we get to see those matches. I think the Dewdrop one specifically would be a lot of fun to see. But obviously before then, SummerSlam, August 21st, Allegiant Stadium, you, Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley, triple threat for the Raw Women's Championship. People can also catch you every Monday night, USA Network, Monday Night Raw, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Nikki, thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it. Best luck going forward. Congrats on all the success. Enjoy Suicide Squad this weekend as well.
Thank you so much. I hope you get to see it too and you enjoy it as well.